Joining us now, Congressman from the 1st District of Virginia, Republican Rob Wittman. He's also the chairman of the subcommittee on military readiness and big to do with the Navy and where the ships go and all that stuff and the Marines. And he's live today in Annapolis at the graduation for the new midshipmen there at the Naval Academy live. Rob Wittman, Congressman, great to have you, sir.
John, it's great to be with you this morning. What an exciting morning, beautiful day here at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, where we're looking forward to the graduation and commissioning ceremony for over 1,000 midshipmen that will now become second lieutenants in the Marine Corps or ensigns in the United States Navy. So great day.
So you got 1,000 there. We understand President Trump will be there for the commencement address, right?
That is correct. He will be here shortly, and will be given the commencement address, and then he'll be part of presenting the diplomas to the new second lieutenants and ensigns as they process to the stage to officially begin their Navy Marine Corps careers.
What is the level of excitement? I know you've been to many of these. I have not. What is the level of excitement there?
You know, it's great. As I've been out talking to the midshipmen this morning. Obviously, the midshipmen that are about to graduate, the first-class midshipmen, are very, very excited about the careers that they have in front of them, whether it's donning the uniform of the United States Marine Corps or that of the United States Navy. They're excited about that, as well as the other midshipmen there. This is kind of the procession for them, too. They get to watch the first-classmen graduate and get commissioned. It's kind of a motivating factor for them as they move up to the next class for the following year. A lot of the midshipmen here are, after this, will go on what's called summer cruise. So they'll go out to have the experience, whether it's on the ship or whether it's some aspect of the Navy Marine Corps that would prepare them for either their career or prepare them in choosing which path that they want to pursue in the Navy or Marine Corps. So it's a really exciting day. Parents are here, too. I've had a chance to talk to several parents whose young men and women are now graduating and getting ready to be commissioned. They're excited for them because they're getting ready to pursue their Navy and Marine Corps careers. So really an exciting day all around. And just a beautiful day here in Annapolis. So it's a great testimony to our nation, to the young men and women, John, that have gone through the most challenging 4 years that you could ever face, both academically, athletically, and from a leadership standpoint, and now are willing and ready to get out there and serve their nation and be the best. So it's a pretty exciting day.
Well, it is exciting. No question about it. Now, quite the day yesterday, the president saying, look, he's not going to go to the summit. A lot of reasons for this. The North Koreans being belligerent, breaking promises, mocking the vice president. Also people don't know this, but there was a planning meeting in Singapore last week to plan all the logistics. The U.S. Deputy Secretary of State with his staff showed up, and the North Koreans didn't show, didn't say they were not going to show, didn't cancel it. They just didn't go. So they basically stood us up. Plus, there's other things that they said they were going to do they haven't done. You think President Trump did the right thing, and is there a pathway forward?
I do, John. I think that it's critical to set the proper conditions to begin these negotiations. And if you don't, then you go into the negotiations with a much lower probability of substantive success. I think the president has said emphatically that he's going to set the conditions to make sure that the proper outcomes are a result of this meeting, and if not, he said from the beginning, he said, if not, then we won't have the meeting. So I think he's setting the right conditions, being strong. As you heard today, North Korea's come back and said, well, wait a minute, we really do want to meet. And I think the president said, well, if you want to meet, we're not ruling it out, but if you want to meet, then you have to show us that you're serious about this, and you can't, be going back and forth in this both lack of action in not attending these meetings, but also in this brutally critical response back to the vice president. The vice president only reiterated what the president had said. There was nothing, I think, derogatory towards North Koreans with that. So I think the president's standing strong and doing exactly what he needs to do and setting the proper conditions. So when this meeting does occur, there's the highest chance of it being successful. And success, in my mind, would be the North Koreans agreeing to eliminate their nuclear arsenal and the United States not doing anything as far as changes in sanctions or its policy of maximum pressure on North Korea until we can repeatedly verify that they're doing what they said they're going to do. And that's why they use the Libya example, because that's exactly what it was. You know, we told Libya, here's what you're going to do, and you're not going to get any concessions from the United States until you do exactly what you have said you're going to do with dismantling your nuclear weapons. So I think setting the right conditions going forward is key. You don't want to have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. You want to have a meeting that results in a substantive agreement that is verifiable and repeatedly verifiable before the United States does anything in return.
We're with Rob Wittman, Republican Congressman from the Central Virginia area, 1st District, running for re-election in November. He's also the chairman of the subcommittee on sea power readiness. Chairman Wittman, let me get to Spygate. And you had the briefing yesterday, or your leadership did, and we got two messages. The Democrats were saying there's no evidence. Devin Nunes is saying, well, there's a lot of evidence about an implant and a spy and an informant. So both parties saying the exact opposite. What is going on here?
Well, I think it's important that we get this information. It's, you know, of a classified nature, so there was a select group of people that went to look at that information yesterday. What I think is important is to make sure that all members of Congress understand what was behind the FBI's efforts in this, and was there a political linkage here? And I think the American people want to know that, too, because we hear this, and I think for anybody, I don't care what your political stripes, it ought to raise concerns about the role of these law enforcement agencies. And this isn't in any way, shape, or form being critical of the great men and women that work there. It's only saying, let's make sure that we have the proper balance in how those agencies operate. And we do not want them getting into the political realm. And it's up to us to figure out, you know, what happened, how did it happen, what was the objective behind starting this effort in communicating with the Trump campaign and having somebody that's now trying to get information from the Trump campaign. What was that all about? Who was it? What did they do? How did they try to get information? All those things are critical because depending on the type of efforts they pursued, you know, really would lead to, I think, significant concerns potentially about what happened. And I'm not saying that any of that happened, but I do think that we have to discover exactly what happened and then determine from there, you know, did something improper happen? And again, I think you start from an assumption of saying, you know, we're going to assume that the agencies have done what they need to do, but we have the duty to find out. That's our job to find out. I don't care what your political stripes are. You have to make sure that that folks within these agencies are operating clearly within their lines of authority, that they're not stepping outside of that this hasn't become something political, because if it has, it's deeply, deeply troubling, and I think, you know, extraordinarily problematic for this nation. I mean, at the highest level. So that's what this effort is about, is really trying to determine what started this, what was the information behind that, what happened then, and how did that progress over time to what it's culminating with today.
The truth is a powerful thing. It will set you free.
Is.
We're in agreement on that. Let's get to the bottom of this. You know, there's enough people now that I've talked to inside the campaign and out and in the administration that believe that there was indeed, I don't know if you want to call it a spy or an informant, or there were several of them, but we have to get to the bottom of it, because if indeed there was, I think you would agree with me, this could end up being one of the biggest scandals, or I don't know even you call it a scandal, one of the biggest crazy things that have ever happened. And I think it's going to open a lot of people's eyes if indeed, and we don't even know who approved this, who was implicated in it. We got to get all that out. Congressman, GOP nearing the end game on immigration votes today. What is going to happen with DACA? Do enough moderate Republicans combining with Democrats? Are they going to bring just a clean DACA bill to the floor? What's going to happen?
Well, when we get back after going back to our districts for Memorial Day, there'll be a meeting of our conference on June the 7th. And I know the leadership is been trying to work across the spectrum. I was just speaking yesterday with Chairman Bob Goodlatte about his bill. He's been working very hard on his bill to try to get 218 supporters on his bill. And John, as you talk to people across not only the state, but as you determine what people across the nation want, they not only want us to address DACA, but they insist that we secure the border. They insist that we end the visa lottery program, which is an illogical way to go about selecting people to come into the country. And they want us to end chain migration. Those things are overwhelmingly things that they want us to do. And this is the opportunity to do that. I just don't think that you can go in and only do one part of that without doing the other parts of it. And as you know, many of those elements are things that have been offered by a number of folks in the Republican Party, including the president. And what I want to make sure is that we have a bill that addresses all of those things. So I know that Chairman Goodlatte has been working to try to get that. I know that our conference, our leadership, is going to bring us together on June the 7th and go set us in a room and try to come up with some kind of direction for this, because there is a fairly wide difference of opinion between members there, and I want to get an immigration bill that accomplishes the fundamental things that my constituents and the American people are telling us overwhelmingly that they want done. That's what has to happen, and I'm hopeful that's what ends up out of this. I think anything less becomes problematic. And another thing, too, that all these folks have to realize is that, this also has to be something that the president is going to sign into law or that the Senate is going to take up. So if you really want to make substantive progress on this, you have to have something where you can find agreement both with the Senate and with the president. So I'm hopeful that whatever comes out of this, it's something that accomplishes those four things: addresses DACA, secures our border, including, I do think physical barriers, the wall is an integral part of that, and end the visa lottery program and end chain migration.
Well, those are all the issues. All of those are in the Chairman Bob Goodlatte bill. 20 seconds. Yes. How do you get Goodlatte's bill to the floor, and when?
Well, I know Bob's been working on that, as well as a number of folks there, to get it to the floor. He's been talking to other folks to try to find some support for it so we can get, 218 votes there. There has been a commitment that bill will come to the floor. I think it does need to come to the floor. I think there are critical elements in this bill that will help us address the four elements I spoke of with immigration. So I'm hopeful that it comes to the floor. I know Bob's working on it. I was talking to him yesterday and talking with some others as he is working this to get it to the floor.
Okay, we're out of time. I want to thank Congressman Rob Wittman for being with us today. Wittman.house.gov, Wittman.house.gov.